Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Shori. Today we are gonna make a pattern number 23, my A-line skirt. This skirt is one of my favorite skirts to wear on a daily basis. It is simple A-line skirt but with almost I-line silhouette. Note that in the front to keep the tummy area clean, and the layer does give a nice shape to the hips. You can choose the skirt length from 80 cm, 70 cm, 60 cm, 50 cm, and 40 cm. 2 cm seam allowance is included, so if you want a 40 cm length skirt, for example, cut it at this time.
Very good.
For cutting, please refer to the cutting diagram in the pattern. Let's add the notch marks. For the front skirt, make a triangle notch in the center. For the back skirt, make a cut at the position where the zipper will be attached. We put it at 20 cm from the waist, but if you want a longer zipper, you can lower the position. Make a mark by stabbing the dart tip with the eyelet. Wether the hole so as to push it a little bit in the thread so as not to cut the thread. In this case, the fusible is attached before cutting. Some fabrics tend to shrink when the fusible is attached, so if you attach it after cutting, the size may change. Step 1. Darts. Sew the darts on the back skirt. Stick the pin in the hole at the end of the darts and hold it up. You can easily sew the darts straight if you have a piece of paper without having to draw a line with a pen. Connect the beginning and the end of the stitches with the paper. Stick the needle at the beginning of the stitch and put the paper next to the needle. Press the paper so that it connects to the place where you will finish sewing. Sew slowly, but be careful not to shift the position of the paper. Stitch the darts and firmly so that the thread does not come undone. Paper is good, but packing tape is recommended because it is long-lasting. Darts should be the iron down toward to the rear center. Step 2. Conceal fastener. Attach the conceal fastener. When I press the conceal fastener, it turns out to be shorter than the notch. For now, attach the anti-stretch tape. Cut a little longer than the fastener. The seam allowance of the fastener is 1.5 cm. Sew it so that the tape lies on the 1.5 cm line. Attach the tape using only the heat of the iron without steam. Turn inside out and sew together. Pin the part below the notch. Since the fastener is short this time, start a little higher than the notch. After sewing, add on a seam allowance of about 5 cm from the beginning of the seam and add on both pieces right side out. Let's finish the edges with a lock sewing machine. Stitch it in the order of 1 and 2. Sew like the letter Y. The finished garment will look like this. Attach the fastener. Leave 1 cm upper side of the fastener. Change to the presser for the concealed fastener and sew. It is sewn to the very end. To pin the other side, close the zipper once and pin it. When sewing, open the zipper to the bottom. Now that it is sewn neatly, iron it. Depending on the fabric, the shape of the zipper may be translated to the fabric. Step 3. Side. Now that the back skirt is sewn, turn it inside out and sew it together with the front skirt. The fabric is on the bias around the waist, so it is easy to just stretch the seam. After sewing machines, seam allowance is ironed on the back side. Step 4. Facing. Turn inside out, clip the side and sew. Iron out the seam allowance. Sew the lower part of the facing with a lock stitch. Sew it to the main body. The seam allowance of the main body is 1.5 cm and the seam allowance of the facing is 1 cm. Pin the edges of the fabric so that they are aligned. Do the same for the other side. Change the presser for the fastener. I sewed at 1 cm, so there is a 5 mm difference. The facing is no longer in the way when using the fastener. To prevent the fabric from floating, sew from the top to secure it in place. Sew around the waist, turn the garment inside out, and fasten the facing to the main body. Fasten in order from the middle, then there will be a little extra fabric on the body side due to the 5 mm seam allowance. So turn the fabric toward the facing. Fasten with clips. The sewing thread will come to the edge of the fastener. The waist will stretch and making the size larger, so be careful not to stretch it anyway. You may prevent this by applying sewing stretch tape first. When you turn it over, you can see that it is finished neatly like this. Cut off any parts that are in the way. Cut into the seam allowance at the curve. Iron the seam allowance down toward the facing. Stitch over the facing and secure the seam allowance to the facing. Stitch as close to the edge as possible. This way, the finished product will look beautiful. Once ironed and in place, join the facing to the seam allowance by hand stitching.
Tell the truth, which I seldom do. I'm tired of being told to hurry.
No, it doesn't get to be a nuisance.
Step 5. Hem. You can iron it into shape first, but here is how I always do it. First, fold the hem in two and stick the needle in. If you hold the hem in two about 10 cm ahead, the middle part will also be folded into well, so sew it while pressing it by hand. Put the fabric slightly toward your body as if against the sewing machine to make the fabric taut and easy to sew. The hem is slightly flared, so it is wavy like this, so use the steam iron to clean up. Now it is finished. This skirt has very little flare, so it is very easy to wear in everyday life. I recommend it, so please give it a try. If you like this video, please subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching my video today. Have a wonderful sewing life. Bye.